welcome to Golden Blooded, everybody. And if you are a college football fan, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button. That is all we do here every single day. And send gear to represent your team and yourself to Golden Blooded. I guarantee you, if you send it to me, I will put it in my background. Send your gear to P.O. Box 360, Liberty, South Carolina 29657. Week 14 was nothing short of a circus. And that's why I decided to return the Mountaineer Clown. In fact, I added a little bit more to it because of how crazy yesterday was. I haven't seen a college football Saturday like yesterday since probably 2007. This is turning out to be a crazy college football season. Hopefully it does rival 2007, and it won't be, West Virginia the main victim, because it was the curse of number 2 in 2007, and West Virginia just happened to be the last number 2 standing, and of course we remember 13-9. And Pitt fans remind me every day, so I will never forget that. So I wanted to see 2007 from an outside perspective, not as a victim, and so far that's exactly what I've gotten. So let's do the rundown for yesterday. Kent State at number 1, Georgia. Georgia allows 22 points. They were a 45-point favorite. And talk about sleeping. This is the ultimate example of a team sleeping. Kent State is now 1-3. How in the world did they score 22 points on Georgia? How? Georgia has allowed combined 10 points from their last 3 opponents. Oregon 3 points. Sanford 0 points, and South Carolina 7 points. But somehow they allowed 22 points to Kent State. That is flat ridiculous. And hopefully they got it out of their system, because they're about to head into the meat of their SEC schedule. And if they play like that, they're going to lose a game. Number 5, Clemson at number 21, Wake Forest. That was a circus show because of the air raid. There was a lot of passing. A lot. Total offense. Clemson had 559 yards on the offensive side of the ball, and Wake Forest had 447 yards. And it took 2 overtimes to decide this game. Clemson did come out with the victory, 51-45. So they survived Circus Saturday. That's what I'm going to call this Saturday. Circus Saturday. Clemson survives 51-45, but they haven't played any team with a pulse when it comes to a defense. Next game, they will be tested. NC State at home. Next up, another MAC team, kind of not really scares an SEC team, but they're actual competition. I'm talking about Northern Illinois at number 8, Kentucky, and Northern Illinois is now 1-3. Kentucky does win 31-23, but Kentucky was a 27-point favorite. What happened to their offense? Well, actually, what happened to their defense against Northern Illinois? 2 MAC teams put up a combined 45 points on Georgia and Kentucky, considered to be the 2 best teams in the SEC East. I know, I see you, Tennessee. But for argument's sake, going by rankings, Georgia and Kentucky are supposed to be the 2 best teams in the SEC East, and they gave up a combined 45 points to MAC teams. Yeah, only on Circus Saturday. And there's number 10, Arkansas, against number 23, Texas A&M, and Texas A&M beats Arkansas 23-21. I can't figure out Texas A&M. I really can't. They lose to Appalachian State. Oh, Appalachian State is a really good team. Don't knock them for that. Yeah, except they barely beat Troy on a Hail Mary. Appalachian State isn't that good. So they lose to Appalachian State at home, but then they come back and beat Miami at home 17-9, even though they got outplayed. Statistically, Miami owned Texas A&M in that game. And then in this game, they beat the number 10 team in the nation, Arkansas. I don't know. I don't know. Texas A&M is so unpredictable. They have the talent to win the SEC West, but their coaching could cause them to finish 8-4 again or worse. This is a good win for Texas A&M. Make no mistake about that. This is a good win for Texas A&M, but they have to be more consistent. I think the biggest clowning of the day was Middle Tennessee going to Miami and not only beating them, but absolutely throttling them. 45-31. How do you allow Middle Tennessee to score 45 points? And I know Middle Tennessee is 3-1. They are more respectable than Kent State and Northern Illinois. This is nuts. Miami let that loss to Texas A&M beat them again against Middle Tennessee. Knowing what I know now, it doesn't surprise me, because yesterday was Circus Saturday. But when it happened, what are you doing, Miami? What are you doing? You had the chance to have one of the best years you've had in over a decade, and you're flushing it down the drain. Believe it or not, Tulsa at number 16, Ole Miss, was a really good game with a lot of offense. I didn't see that one coming. Tulsa put up 457 offensive yards, and Ole Miss 462 offensive yards. Ole Miss does come out with the victory 35-27, but it shouldn't have been that close. Ole Miss was a 21-point favorite. Am I missing something? Does Tulsa have a better offense than what I thought? I didn't think they have a good offense. Well, I guess on Circus Saturday, everybody has a good offense. Number 20, Florida at number 11, Tennessee. Tennessee does win 38-33, but Tennessee, they legitimately tried to hand the win over to Florida, and now this is going to look like a great win for Tennessee because, oh man, Florida looks like a tough team, and they beat number 7 Utah in the beginning of the season at home. So Tennessee is definitely a top 10 team. No, Florida is not that good. Tennessee just made way too many mistakes. They kept trying over and over and over to give the game to Florida. They had a chance to stretch a lead, but no, they would give the ball right back to Florida. Florida just couldn't take advantage. They kept the game close. It was a close loss, but Florida is not as good as what it seemed like yesterday. But on Circus Saturday, even Florida can look good. This next game, number 15 Oregon at Washington. Oregon does win this game 44-41. Washington State had the lead 34-29 with about 5 or 6 minutes left in the fourth quarter. There was a massive personal foul face masking on Oregon. It was not called. It should have been called. It would have extended the drive, and Washington State probably would have scored, and that would have probably iced the game. But no, it wasn't called. Washington State has the punt. Oregon scores. Then they score again to stretch the lead 44-34. Washington does score one more time before the game's over, but refs have to be held accountable. That's got to stop. Just like they can play football god out there. That one doesn't look like a penalty, but that one does. Hey, if it's egregious and if it's obvious, review it and throw the flag. What's wrong with it? Oh, go to blue, dude. The game already gets stopped and the games are already too long. Yeah, I'm not saying be nitpicky about it. I'm saying if it's obvious, if we can see it on the television screen, it should be reviewed and a flag should be thrown. These refs have too much power and there's no accountability. Speaking of 2007, the last time Kansas was really good was 2007. They hosted an undefeated Duke at home and they pull off the win 35-27. I will say this, Duke is a little bit better than what I was expecting, but Kansas is now 4-0. Good wins on the road against West Virginia and on the road against Houston, and now a decent win over an undefeated Duke. I think Kansas should be ranked. Are we talking about a repeat of 2007 and Kansas getting to a New Year's Six Bowl? That would be absolutely nuts, especially when you consider Kansas had 2 wins last year. You go from 2 wins to possibly being one of the best teams in the Big 12. Give Lance Leipold Coach of the Year right now, because Kansas is definitely getting to a bowl, and anything more than that is gravy. If he gets Kansas to a bowl right there, he deserves Coach of the Year. What did I say at the beginning of the year? I said that Michigan State was going to take a big step back. They lose to Washington on the road last week, and then Minnesota goes into East Lansing and absolutely obliterates Michigan State 34-7. Minnesota is now 4-0, so I fully expect Minnesota and Kansas to be ranked. That has to happen. It was actually pretty easy to predict that Michigan State was going to take a big step back because they didn't have a defense last year. They're not going to have a defense this year, and the biggest thing that they lost was their running back Kenneth Walker. They really don't have an offense without him. So anybody that didn't see that coming, you're not paying attention to college football. This next game, I am convinced that Notre Dame is living inside the head of North Carolina. Notre Dame is not a very good team. They lost to Marshall. They barely beat Cal, who's a horrible team. Now they go on the road and not only beat North Carolina, but they handle North Carolina. And I know North Carolina doesn't have a good defense, but Notre Dame's offense is one of the worst in the nation. But of course, on Circus Saturday, Notre Dame goes into North Carolina and beats them 45-32. And North Carolina now looks like one of the worst teams in the nation, even though they went into this game undefeated. Unbelievable. Before yesterday, I thought Oklahoma was a playoff team. Kansas State just came off a loss to Tulane at home. Tulane at home. They go on the road and they beat Oklahoma. I didn't see this coming. Kansas State beat Oklahoma 41-34. Kansas State must just have Oklahoma's number because they do this almost every other year. It doesn't matter if Oklahoma's having a down year and Kansas State's having a good year, or Kansas State's having a down year and Oklahoma looks like a playoff team. It looks like every other year, Kansas State somehow, some way goes on the road and beats Oklahoma. How does that happen? West Virginia is asking you, teach us your ways. We haven't beaten Oklahoma since we joined the Big 12. Please, teach us your ways. We can't do this. How do you do this pretty much every other year? I saved the best for last, even though I talked about it yesterday. But man, I have to clown Texas. Not only did they lose, but they lost after giving themselves hope after basically a miracle happened. Texas Tech kicks a 45-yard field goal with 21 seconds left and goes up 34-31 on Texas, right? Well, then Texas gets in field goal range in like 15 seconds and kicks a 48-yard field goal to tie it 34-34 to send it to overtime. What happens in overtime? Well, Texas Tech wins the coin toss, so they defer. Texas gets the ball first, and the running back that never fumbles, Bijan Robinson, he fumbled. Texas Tech recovers, and they kick a field goal to win the game in overtime. Only to Texas. So you only lose by 1 point to the number 1 team in the nation, Alabama, at home, but you can't go on the road and beat Texas Tech after a miraculous finish in regulation. I don't know what to tell Texas fans. I mean, that's got to hurt. If things keep going the way that they're going, I have a feeling that the Mountaineer Clown is going to make a lot of appearances this year. And as the season goes on, I'll add more and more to it. As you can see, there's more face paint. I added the hat. Who knows what I'm going to add next? And honestly, if this season turns out to be like 2007, by the end of the year, you're probably going to see Gold and Blue Dude in full clown mode. Head to toe, full clown mode. So if you want to see the continuation of the Mountaineer Clown, give me a thumbs up and don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Y'all let me know in the comment section which game was the biggest circus game of the day to you. That's all I got for this show. Like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you on my next show.